Hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. Being a man of culture, last week I uploaded a video for you covering the history of the legendary Street Fighter 2. This controversial parody of Street Fighter 2 that was published on the PC Engine way back when has a much more important place in gaming history than many people would think. Essentially, this one-on-one fighter would pioneer the way forward for an entire emerging smut fighter subgenre, with a crazy amount of fighting games of this style being created and published, continuing to see release right up until today. In today's video, we are going to take a trip back to the naughty noughties to look at another one of these tantalising titles that would encourage players to pick up their joysticks and give them a bloody good waggle. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Bikini Karate Babes, another ludicrous fighting game. Yeah! Street Fighter 2, with its large roster of colourful fighters, characters with deep, complex movesets, and player versus player one-on-one combat, would go on to heavily influence and inspire the entire fighting game genre, with the prestigious video game basically functioning as the blueprint for everything that was to come, with Street Fighter 2 being a prime example of a video game it would inspire. As influential as Street Fighter 2 was though, just 1 year after its release, another smash hit fighting game would hit the market, the iconic and graphically violent Mortal Kombat. Apart from introducing the fatality system, which many other fighters would imitate, it would also further popularise digitised graphics. Sure, we had seen this in video games before, such as in Pit Fighter for example, but this was the first time we'd witnessed digitised actors placed in a Street Fighter 2 style one-on-one fighter. The money that Mortal Kombat would generate would see the title receive an almost endless amount of copycats in its own right, such as Ultra Vortec for the Atari Jaguar for example, a game that would probably function as the perfect candidate for an episode covering a weird fighting game in the future. But in this upload, we are looking at another video game featuring digitised fighting, the disreputable Bikini Karate Babes. While the majority of games that were produced that would opt for such a graphical style would see release in the early to mid-90s, hilariously Karate Babes would not hit store shelves until 2002, an era whereby the majority of gamers had moved on to hardware such as the PlayStation 2, Nintendo GameCube and Microsoft Xbox. So, why does this primitive looking game exist? And why was it created? Well, Bikini Karate Babes was developed and published by Creative Edge Studios, an entity who are based out of Virginia. While the company's website doesn't appear to have much information on it anymore, according to Vice.com, their services were not just restricted to video game development, but you could also hire them to duplicate your old VHS tapes, or recruit them to film your wedding. Thus meaning when it comes to Creative Edge Studios, this company was hardly Capcom or Midway when it came to size, experience and scope within the industry. Creative Edge Studios has carved out a cultured fandom indeed, which was in part thanks to the ridiculous Bikini Karate Babes. Speaking of old forums, having a browse at artstechnica.com posts from the year that the game would see release, it seems that many internet users felt that the concept of the title seemed so ludicrous that they felt that Bikini Karate Babes would never be released, and all talk around the game was no more than a joke. History now shows us though that these forum posters were wrong, because as you can see, Bikini Karate Babes very much exists. As you can see, all of the action in this game was created using digitised actors, with the capturing process being directed by a man known as Travis Biggs. In an old interview, it is said that the reason as to why this title was developed was in order to poke fun at the state of fighting games of the day, which personally I could see would have made sense in say 1993, but crazily as mentioned earlier, this game didn't hit the market until 2002. By that point in time, video games with full motion video scenes involving actors and digitised capture like this was pretty much tropes from an already bygone era, but here we were. Building on the inspiration for the game, it is said that this was Creative Edge Studios' response to the industry's fighting games, which regularly featured women characters wearing increasingly revealing clothes, while male characters on the other hand would often wear full body armour. While there is certainly some truth to this statement, when we consider titles such as Dead or Alive by the point of Karate Babes release was already 6 years old. In fact, the entire fighting game genre was beginning to cool off, with it not being long before the likes of Capcom would take a break from releasing new fighting games completely. So, if such satire was going to be made around the genre, 2002 seems like it was a little late for that. Street Fighter 2, which we referenced at the beginning of this upload, which already had an all-female cast of scantily dressed characters, came out an entire 9 years earlier, thus meaning that the joke that was Karate Babes was far from an original idea, but rather contributing to an already nearly decade-long legacy of purposely smutty fighting games. Bikini Karate Babes was one of many fighting games of this ilk, but I guess the digitised capturing as far along as 2002 at least helped this one stand out. In extra behind the scenes content that would come with the original game, all of the women who starred in this affair would take part in interviews, explaining their experiences working on such a game. Reading through all of these, it sounds like the process of finding these women draws a lot of parallels with how they would recruit female wrestlers to train and be a part of Glow. It all kind of reminds me of the Netflix series about that wrestling promotion, which I love. Thuong Tran, who plays Chen Wu in the game for example, states,
"Before the audition, I had seen the advertisement for it at my school. There was a flyer for it and I got real excited. I said, hey, this is something that's a chance of a lifetime. Why not give it a go, you know?"
Claudia, who played Voluptuous, reports to us that
the place that I was, I don't know, for lack of a better word, discovered. I don't want to use that, but I was working at a concession stand at a dance competition, and these two guys, one of them happened to be Travis, came up to me and asked me if I wanted to be in a video game. And to be honest, I mean, he knew I didn't think it was legit, but after a while, you know, I came over and did some research and seemed like a really interesting and fun project, so it was different. I mean, I can honestly say that something like that has never happened to me before, so I was kind of honoured.
Becky Tom, who played Zarya, added,
"When I came to the audition, my agency sent me and I wasn't really sure what it was for. I was told to wear tight form-fitting clothes, so I did. And when I got there, there was lots of girls there, and I was one of the first ones in the room. And when I was out, I didn't feel bad or good about the audition. I wasn't sure that I'd got it, but I didn't feel bad about it either. I kind of actually forgot about it, and when they said I got it, I was like, wow. And I didn't know like how big of a game it was, or how well I'd really done out of how many girls until I got here."
The lady who played Collada adds,
"I heard about the auditions through an advertisement at one of the local gyms that I train in. The reason why I decided truthfully to try out was my husband is a big computer game player, and that's kind of what sparked my interest."
After the gorgeous ladies of Bikini Karate Babes had been assembled, the production shoots for the game would begin, with some of the women reporting that it was more intense and with more technical difficulties than they expected.
You know, filming and just everything, the action sequence is not as easy as one might think. I mean, there's a lot going into it. You know, my character and Athena, we did our shot once everything was put together. It looked like she really kicked my ass, but she didn't. Okay, during the shooting, we had a couple of technical difficulties, especially with our bikinis. With a lot of the girls and myself being a little bit, heavier on top. Well, you know, a couple of times we had to redo the shot just because we were just popping out left and right. But, there was, people that, and Travis as well, that made us feel comfortable. And saying that, hey, it's done professionally. They're going to edit things out, make it look like, no one ever saw it. But of course, there was a little bit of edginess in there. That's why they're called Creative Edge, I guess.
The woman who played Zarya would add,
It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of girls here, and all weekend shoots we got to watch movies and stuff like while the other girls shooting and help each other work with each other to make up combos and moves. So they were all different, and it was just a really good experience for so many girls to get along so well.
Many of the ladies would have a lot of praise for Travis Biggs regarding the shoot, including the woman who played Athena, adding,
Travis went the extra mile to make us feel more comfortable about our scenes, and he talked things out with the other characters, or that's what I saw. I think that sometimes, he might have pushed us a little bit, but it was just to get things done and to get things the way he wanted it. Because I think he has a vision of how this game is supposed to come out, and he's just trying to put it all together, and I think that once it's done because of him, it's all gonna look great. It wasn't like he didn't really want to try and shut us out. He explained everything to us and where he thought it was going and his opinions on everything. I felt really open to ask him anything I wanted to about the game or what was going on. I felt as though he was giving me a clear and concise answer as to his knowledge of everything at the time.
The actress behind Persephone enjoyed the shoot too, adding,
One of the things that I like about the game is how women are empowered, and we have so much power and we can do whatever we want. My character Persephone is kind of quiet and reserved, and that's kind of how I am. I really enjoyed working with all the girls on this. We had a lot of fun. We got to know each other. We'd bring picture albums on the long shoot days and share our friends and family and talk about boyfriends and everything like that. I just think we all got really close in a really short amount of time, and it was a lot of fun.
Samantha, who played Gemini, comments on working with green screen and how impressed she was seeing the finished product, commenting,
Because originally, when we were watching it, each person up there, it was like a green background, and all you can see is this green background, and you have absolutely no idea how it's going to fit into the actual background that the character plays in. So, when I actually saw it, I was incredibly amazed.
That is such a Samantha thing to say.
So while Samantha and many of the other ladies were highly impressed with this game, what was the final product actually like? Let's try and break this down further. The game opens up with glorious full motion videos showing the women having choreographed fight scenes in woodlands, by lakes and in all manner of beautiful locations in the great outdoors. Past this point we reach a menu screen reminiscent of that of a naughty DVD that appears to give players a range of different play options. But since this is a fighting game, let's talk about the main arcade mode. As is usual, you can choose your fight from the roster screen, offering up some tantalising choices. Once your choice has been made, the game's glorious action commences. The best way to describe what can be experienced past this point is, interesting. PCGamer.com put it perfectly when they referred to this title as Mortits Combat, as essentially that's exactly what the game looks like. The game is both terrible and titillated in equal measures, meaning that the players can waggle their joysticks in shame as they play through this one. On the surface, this video game draws parallels with many other fighters, with each character who is named after a different goddess from mythology having their own set of moves and combos. These can be performed by combining directional inputs with standard attack buttons to perform specials and other manoeuvres. However, the game's poor controls make this easier said than done. Special moves include the likes of Thalia's Tickle Grab, Lucina's Mystic move, which has her lowering her top and firing a laser from her bazookas, and Venus's Grab, in which she strips her opponent of her clothing, making her too embarrassed to want to continue. Tasteful stuff indeed. Amusingly, in some cases, you can even see the green outline around the fighters, where the devs behind this one didn't effectively light the production studio properly when capturing the moves for the game. Either that, or in the post-production process, the chroma keying wasn't carried out properly. Either way, in some ways, it adds to the bizarre guerrilla charm of this silly game. Thankfully for the perverts out there who purchased this one back in the day, the game would have featured a somewhat killer app for them, as fighters can perform moves that include the likes of one woman popping off the bra of another to then use it as a whip. With regards to capturing the footage for these parts of the game, thankfully I've managed to dig up some thoughts and opinions from the actresses involved. The lady behind Chen Wu comments,
Yeah, there were some parts in the movie that require partial nudity, or full nudity, but, and I read about that in the contract, but, I didn't think that I would be one of them to do it. So, basically, that I am a little shy, but that's definitely what he wanted. That makes it a little bit more just edgy and definitely what people want. You know, they want something a little bit more shocking, I'm sure. For example, nobody expects you to, use your top as a weapon, but that's what makes it so creative and unique. It's just something that's just kind of exciting and, just wows the player who's gonna be playing and he's gonna want to play more,
Samantha adds,
Some of the movements would have a tendency to be a little exposed, but I was a little hesitant in the beginning, but as we went along with it, it really was handled in a professional manner. There truly wasn't anything, exposed for a great period of time or anything in any manner that made us feel uncomfortable.
The actress behind Aphrodite adds,
There is some nudity in the game, and I think that it was difficult for all the characters, including me, to get kind of used to the environment and trying to perform as best as we could something that we've never really done before. I know I haven't.
Everybody's got a price.
When finally released in 2002, the Bikini Karate Babes would be utterly obliterated by critics, with the title seeing some of the worst reception online I have seen for any video game ever. So let's cover some nuggets. IGN have given the game a bloody good paddling in the past reporting, stating,
What I can decipher of the extremely brief cutscenes, some scantily clad women are trying to desperately take over the rather pleasant city park. The girl with the laser shooting is content with shooting up rocks, whilst others are trying to spread passion through the island, but all that takes an irrelevant backseat to play, which actually has the uncanny ability to ruin life itself. Your tadpoles will die if you buy this. Unlike most other acceptable games released in the last 20 or 30 years, Victory is all about having superhuman endurance. It's necessary to endure the graphics, the sound and the control. Hey, at least these graphics are fantastic, they are girls and they have girl parts. Sure, they move like freaked out puppets injected with poisoned amphetamines, occasionally reverting to an eerie frozen state, and they jitter over the damn place like an epileptic in an anime convention, but a few of them are pretty and exotic. Aside from the horrible control, mind-numbing audio, baffling everything and complete unadulterated insanity, this is a terrific game that should be immediately purchased by anyone with a lobotomy or currently in the process of getting a professionally done or self-performed lobotomy. Bikini Karate Babes does teach us one thing though: if you have a video camera, a backyard, a terrible idea, and $112 to blow, you too can get girls to wear bathing suits and do things like fight and lay down.
IGN would grade the game just 1.5 out of 10, the lowest I have ever seen on the website, but at least their review about the game was entertaining, I suppose. The game would be buried by the media of the time, with the title largely getting very negative reviews like this. While many journalists found this title unbearably bad, according to Creative Edge Studios, none of this actually mattered, as the game was a solid seller for them anyway. Let's be honest, no one is purchasing a game like this for its gameplay quality to begin with. In fact, I am fully inclined to believe them as well, because following the release of this game, it would later go on to receive not one, but 2 sequels. However, these are potential stories for another time. There is no doubt that no matter how silly many people think Bikini Karate Babes is, there is clearly some sort of market for this franchise, and these sort of games in general, which is why the likes of Street Fighter 2 will go on to receive sequels as well. More games I'd like to talk about this channel in the future too. So all in all, I think I can conclude that Bikini Karate Babes is both silly and ridiculous, but it is a weird fighting game that I am glad exists. Thank God that in between copying VHS tapes and filming people's weddings, that the fine people over at Creative Edge Studios found time to make this one. Who could possibly live without it? So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the story of Bikini Karate Babes. Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this video and what other smutty fighting games that you would like to see me cover in a documentary format next. Fight Angel Special Edition, anyone? If you support Men of Culture producing culturally important documentaries like this one, then why not show that you're a cultured individual by backing my channel on Patreon? I love culture, and I love each and every one of you. Additional shoutouts go to my wife, Lady Decade, and my friend Trista Bites, for both providing some excellent voice work for this episode. So, without further ado, I would like to thank my Patreon backers. So, special shoutouts go out to Ben Harradine, Carl Johnson, Heo Paulo Lopez, Johnny Holly, Ron Dinched, Evan Balder, Azure Arkai, Ego, Jordan Duran, Ian Boyle, Nick Daniels, Princess Zana, House of a Ted, Matt Fowle, Steve, Justin Wang, Hermes Gonzalez, Man Shovel, Sang-Hee, Langston Miller, Vlaming Renee, Tioji Driver, Louis Vian, John Bates, David Bow, Antonio Rodriguez, Sin Spaces, Punk Toast, and everybody else who backs my work over on the Patreon platform. I am eternally grateful to all of you. Thank you.